Welcome to Wine Country at Work. I'm Ralph D. Meaches. We're going to be interviewing one of my colleagues today, Heidi Ditthoff, up here at the Enchanted Mountains.
Enchanted Hills,
Enchanted
Napa.
Hills, thank you.
Enchanted Hills, Napa, up on Mount Veeder Road in Napa. Enchanted Hills actually is an unincorporated area up here on Mount Veeder, so that's hence where it got its name.
Ah, yes, but it's a spectacular location up here on the Mayacamas Mountains.
It's beautiful. It's absolutely gorgeous. We're a 311-acre property. That about 23 of it is used for the venue for a camp for Lighthouse for the blind and visually impaired out of San Francisco Foundation. And we also do external groups, retreats, family reunions, weddings, and that matter up here also.
Well, I thought it was fascinating. The Lighthouse has been around since the late 1800s, and it's been dedicated to helping visually impaired people. Then this was started in 1950. It was a gift, to the organization.
So it's 75th anniversary this year, which is very huge for us for running the camp, and the gift that was given over to Lighthouse. The camp has been functioning every year since for blind, visually impaired children, adults. We do adult camp, little learners camp. There's several different layers of camp for people here. But also because of this amazing area and this gorgeous, just kind of this venue is so beautiful. They just have this lovely retreat up here that actually in the 2017 fires burned down. A lot of the camp was destroyed, and they've had to, over the last 5 years, rebuilt and refurbished and rebuilt little villages for the retreat and for the camp. So that it could still function as a camp, but also have external clients to come up for their retreats.
I think in some ways you understated it because I think they upgraded significantly. This is very state-of-the-art today.
It's very state-of-the-art. It's the wood on most of the buildings has been repurposed from the trees that burned that they had to take out of here, about almost 1,000 trees. So they repurposed that for the structures and different building villages that we have. We have several different villages. One is called Hillside Village, which is small casitas and a beautiful little common area for people to enjoy with a fire pit and kitchen for if you wanted to self-cook or have your breakfast, make your breakfast there. And then we have lakeside cabins, which have been totally refurbished. They're gorgeous 2-room cabins with internal bathrooms that overlook the lake. And then we have a building called the Lodge. I always call it the Hodge. I combine that with the Hogan, and now it comes out the Hodge.
That's good.
But the Logan is like a 9-room, 2-bed lodge that some people love to just have. It has shared bathrooms, and then it goes down the hill to Forest Commons, who is more bunk cabins that can hold anywhere from 6 up to 12 people per cabin.
What really is remarkable to me is I've been running a tour company in this area since I've been driving around these hills since 2005. And I've been up and down this road, Mount Veeder Road. I never knew this was here.
When I came over here, I was recruited over here by Lighthouse in the end of last year of 2024. I came over in December. But when I walked this venue and was introduced to it, I never even had heard of it either, and I didn't realize it was here. And then when I walked this area, I was so amazed by just the beauty, the surroundings, the architectural, what they had redone with the buildings. I was blown away, and I just was so delighted to come over and work for Enchanted Hills and become their venue retreat sales and business development manager.
Well, it's very cool too when you arrive here because Mount Veeder Road is a little windy, and if you come off of Trinity, it's not a bad ride at all. But you get to the top of the hill, and then you go through the gate, and you're just driving down
Keep
and down
going
and down.
down.
So it cascades down the hillside, and it's wonderful because you get this wonderful sense of moving through nature as you go down the hill, and yet all these places are nested here and there.
Throughout the trails, there's trail systems throughout where the villages are, and you're right. You just come down this grade, this hill, and you're just nestled in these little valleys, and it's just absolutely beautiful.
I think it's wonderful that they decided to open this up to other events because, it's beautifully designed. And I mean, they must have put like $50 million into redesigning
They put $50
this
million into redesigning and refurbishing and rebuilding the venue, which has been quite amazing.
And that's thinking really long term, but they've been around since the 1880s. Everything is long term.
Right.
And they had to design it very carefully about, because they're designing for people who are visually impaired, that everything is designed that people can go around with white canes or they can go with, their support animals.
Everything is built with that purpose in mind.
But I think it's also interesting too that, I'm a professional speaker and I've spoken all over the place and I've attended hundreds of conferences as well. So I've been in a lot of big event spaces, I'm sure, as you have yourself, I'm sure. And they're all designed kind of like this to a certain extent. But as you're going around the property, you realize there's other little factors that are built in, like little rumble strips and things like that. So when they come up to a driveway, they'll know that they're coming into
It's pretty incredible. And I don't even know the whole depth of what the architecture firm really did have to do when they went through the process of having to really understand how to build for visually impaired people, but then also make it a long-lasting venue, thinking of the future and really making it sustainable. And then how do you reuse the materials you have on the property? And everything that they incorporated into it was so carefully designed and constructed that, when the fires happened in 2017 and we're now fully opened in 2025, it took them a long time to do it correctly. And they did it just an incredible job on that. And like I said, I don't even know the depth of some of the things they did do or go through here just to make sure that it was accessible and sustainable at the same time.
Well, it wasn't, for instance, the building, we're sitting outside, obviously, people can hear the breeze and they can hear the occasional little truck going past. But the building itself is all clad in steel and corrugated steel. And the roofs are all corrugated steel in all these buildings so that they protect them from fire.
From fire, correct. So everything was kind of refurbished that way, even the buildings that survived. Down in the lower part of the venue is called Foss Cabin, and it's an old log cabin that's been there for I don't even know how many years, but for many, many years. And that survived, but the same thing. They refurbished the roofs, so you have these metal roofs so that everything has, kind of a fire resistant element to it.
I remember them saying that when they do if they're doing exterior wooden walls, what they did is they make sure the walls were milled 1 extra inch thick so that the building would be more resistant to fire because, this area hadn't burned in many, many years, but the 17 fire was very devastating.
It was very devastating to this area. Like people know that live in California, these fires can be very devastating. So I think the way they've refurbished it and just the thought process into it is just pretty incredible.
Well, from what you've been telling me, this has become, since you've been here, a very popular location for retreats and for family reunions and for the occasional.
Exactly. So what we've really been promoting here is really to make sure that, people coming up for family reunions from the Bay Area, from around the country, actually, so that they could have just like a beautiful retreat, someplace to go. We can hold weddings here that are absolutely lovely down in the Redwood Grove area. We've got a beautiful little stage area down there. so that people can enjoy that and then spend the night in our cabins if they want a beautiful rustic wedding. And we've had a couple of other retreats for schools, local schools in the area that do their leadership retreats. Um, and we just kind of welcome those kind of groups that want to really come and appreciate the environment, appreciate kind of being, you're so close, you're 15 minutes to the center of Napa.
Mm.
So but you feel like you're in the middle of nowhere in this beautiful sanctuary that's just so gorgeous and quiet and lovely. So
Oh,
yeah,
And in fact, it's what's really funny is, I mean, you're not farther from the city of Napa, but you're 10 minutes or 15 minutes to Oakville and Rutherford, which is the heart of the Napa
of the
Valley.
Napa
Yeah.
Valley, exactly. And I live in Sonoma County, so it's not. I come up Trinity, and I'm not that far away from this area either. And it is pretty amazing, as you said in the beginning, that never even knew this place was here. And
Right.
it's just absolutely this incredible little oasis that's up in Napa on Mount Veeder, that it's just beautiful.
Yeah. And people really, I think these days, especially with we're dealing with this onslaught of social media and video, and which I shouldn't complain about that being a videographer, but still, there's just so much of it to be able to come to a place like this that is so beatific. It's just you really are out in this gorgeous area. And it's interesting that since the fire, because they lost, like you said, almost
It's
1,000 trees.
trees, yeah.
It's a lot sunnier here than it used to be.
Yeah, it's not as dense forest and
Yeah.
redwoods, but it's still, you've got still enough shade areas
Mm.
that are beautiful.
Oh, yes.
So that when in the middle of the summertime you don't get, so a lot of you still get the beautiful breeze up here and the shade, but you get to appreciate the surroundings a little bit more. And kind of, you can look over and see the neighbor's vineyard. And things like that that's around us. We also have up in more of the redwoods off of the little trails, we have little hiking trails that are probably anywhere from 2 to 3 miles. They're not very difficult. People can meander or hike. We also have these great platforms up in the redwoods that some of our wellness groups that are coming up here love it for retreats, so they can do yoga. And we're introducing forest bathing up here, and different kind of wellness retreat items that people can select too if they want.
Well, this region, the North Bay, was famous as the big healing center because of all the hot springs.
Oh, yeah,
And
you've got
you
Calistoga in that area. Yeah.
Well, even before, at one time, there were over 80 spas in Napa that ran all the way from just north of downtown Napa
Wow.
all the way to Calistoga. There's hot springs every place. Then in Sonoma, they were primarily clustered down by in the lower part of the Sonoma Valley.
Wow.
So up by where you live, just north of there, are the geysers, of course.
Right. We've got the geysers over on that side. Yeah.
Which is a very important area in terms of generating energy. But the big resorts were all in these areas here because they were accessible.
Wow.
So there's a very long tradition of healing in this area.
Yeah, there's several groups I'm talking to right now, or that are coming up to have retreats up here from 20 people up to 30, 35 people, just depending upon the group. And they just are always amazed that it's so close to Napa. You're so close from Sacramento, from anywhere in the Bay Area to get here. And they've really discovered that it's a very unique property for definitely for the health and wellness groups, because of just the way, I love, and I've said this before, and I say it to clients that I walk around. I love walking here when nobody else is here or there's limited people, and just the serene beauty and the peaceful quiet of the breeze, if that makes any sense, because the breeze just rustles through the trees, and it's just so gorgeous. And with the birds and the animals and the wildlife, it's just gorgeous.
Yeah, you can hear it. You can hear it almost continually right behind us.
Yeah,
the whole time.
It's almost like music that just flows through the air, and it's
on a hillside,
incredible.
so it's just flowing up through the hillside.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Well, what's really nice is that around the buildings, they were very conscious of the fire issue. So where they removed trees, they were very judicious about it. But I think you said 26 acres are part of the main site.
Yeah,
And that's
23 acres
23.
is the venue of the main site of where all
Yeah.
the activity is and everything. And then it's all on
Yeah.
311 acres, which is
Yeah.
mostly hillside. It's not
Yeah.
usable land, or it could be agricultural, but it's more hillside.
But what's nice about that is once you go outside of this area, you still have like 280 acres of woods, and they're relatively dense, but they've been cleaned out quite a bit.
Yeah, it's definitely been cleaned out a lot. And they have a tree company they work with that comes in for maintenance and things like that constantly. So, and you have to do that when you're up here.
Oh, yes. Well, Napa and Sonoma have been very good about recognizing how, between climate change, this is more of a risk, or you have to be more active in terms of managing it. I kept thinking to myself, I really should have gone into the logging business or the goat business, one of the two.
Right, exactly.
So what is the mission of Enchanted Hills? Because it's part of the Lighthouse.
It's part of Lighthouse for the blind and visually impaired out of San Francisco. And the mission and a lot of what we're doing here at Enchanted Hills is to give back to Lighthouse and be able to give back the proceeds from Enchanted Hills to Lighthouse to support career development for the blind and visually impaired. And we're incorporating with Napa Valley Community College a culinary program to teach blind and visually impaired students culinary arts. So our chef, Matthew Baird, who's just incredible, who also is visually impaired, has been able to design a curriculum to learn culinary skills. And then after they go through our certificate program, we haven't started this yet. This program will probably start in 2026. But after that, and once they graduate with the certificate program, then Napa Valley Community College will accept them into their culinary arts program. So if we could create more of these concepts of career development for blind and visually impaired people, then we can create better standards for them to go into a career path.
That's wonderful.
It's an incredible mission. When I found out about that and kind of started in the process of meeting with Napa Valley, et cetera, I was so impressed and amazed at what we could do. And that's part of what our mission is. And it's giving back to that. So that skill set for people to live independently and be able to have a career. And I'd love to expand it, actually. The Lighthouse hasn't really told me that yet, but I'd love to do that and kind of expand it into different, viticulture, into the wine industry and hospitality industry, et cetera.
Well, hospitality is such a big field here. I mean, a lot of what we talk about at Wine Country at Work is the hospitality side of the business.
Exactly.
Look at how many hotels are here and how many have to have large kitchens and catering staff. I mean, that's a major portion of what people work in this area. I think it's also very commendable that after all, when you're getting people to come here and they're renting the space and they're staying here, the money they're paying is going to a very good cause.
So after expenses, our proceeds go to Lighthouse for the blind to really carry on the mission and to keep the camp functioning and going for the blind and visually impaired, and be able to really set this, I think Lighthouse has been around for 127 years. And it's incredible what they've been able to do as a foundation in that time, and to make sure that we can sustain that and keep that growing and keep that moving forward is really important. And it's important work. And I think that is really, once people find out when they do come here, like you just said, and they realize what they're donating back to or giving back to, they're amazed. They're so impressed. And, the groups that we've had come up here, they come back again and they've signed up for next year because it's easy to get to, it's accessible, but then it's so beautiful. And then the mission of what you're giving back to Lighthouse for.
Well, when you come up here, you really do feel very removed from the world.
Yeah, you do.
You're up here on the ridge, and the Mount Veeder Road runs right up along the top of the ridge in the mountains. So
Yeah.
as you're coming up, you get these incredible vistas, over the Napa Valley, and then you get here and you really feel protected and insulated from it, and it's just a wonderful place for any type of retreat, or any, you could see corporate groups coming up here to, with team building.
Exactly.
For many years, Napa, what they always used to call it, Silicon Valley's backyard, because this was where they would all come up for
Right.
their retreats.
Yep. Yeah,
and
makes sense.
And later on, when they had too much money, then they invested here.
Yeah, that's true too. But that it's, and it's also a place where you can come up. It is affordable. It's affordable for groups that, just want to be able to come up and have a nice training retreat, kind of do the wellness, as I said before. So it's kind of an eclectic mix that we can do here.
Okay. Now, the wellness groups that have been coming up, I find that especially interesting because my own background has a lot to do with wellness. What kind of groups are coming up?
They could be anything from yoga instructors or yoga groups, down from Napa, from the surrounding areas. I have a gal that's coming up to do, like I said earlier, forest bathing. She's really incredible. Jenny is out of Sonoma, but she's going to come up and kind of introduce that to the venue here. We've got people that'll come up and do massage therapy. So it's really healing massage. We have a yurt that actually is very cool on the venue that people can do for meditation, one-on-ones, or massage therapy. So it really kind of goes and balances with everything. I know one of the Avril, one of the gals that wants to come up and do a retreat with her group, she wants to do also kind of a food kind of instruction and foraging, because we've got with different herbs and things that are growing here on the property, which I think could be really a lot of fun to put up and put together. So it can be anywhere. We've got a beautiful culinary kitchen set up down in Forest Commons, run by Matt Beard, who's just an incredible chef. And we can do kind of culinary aspects to wellness, herbs, and things like that.
Well, I think that there goes one of the
He's just
the little tractors. I love you really need these little tractors. We were driving around with you and you were saying this thing's really slow, and I said, with all these hillsides, it's probably a good idea that they're a little slow.
You need these little carts and these quads, vehicles around here. Absolutely. Exactly. There's a lot of hills.
Yeah.
And the maintenance team, they're incredible. They're incredible groups.
Well, the thing that's funny is, we did we did the video too for the TV version of this. And you said, well, do you want to walk around on it? I've driven down this hill.
Right. See, and you were kind of saying, you're walking up these hills pretty well. I'm like, take these tours. I do these tours on foot, for an hour and a half with my customers that come in. Yeah. And I love it because I love walking around. But you do
I was carrying a big camera.
Yeah. You do need the cart.
Let's take the cart.
You do need kind of like to drive around, especially if you've got big equipment and stuff.
But that's really nice because, so many people live on such flat areas. You come to an area where, gravity is really obvious to you. I was thinking this would be a great place for, any type of educational seminar, anything physical. You do a feng shui seminar, you do an ergonomic seminar. These areas I find particularly interesting. What's really nice is these spaces are so well designed.
Yeah, and that's what I said. It just kind of incorporates. It was so well thought out, and it incorporates everything strategically into the hillside and how it's designed and kind of how the light is captured. How there's little sunballs, I don't know what they're called, on the roofs that they've installed that are just incredible. These little,
Little tubes that bring the
sunlight in, and just everything they've done is just incredible. It's amazing. And
all the indirect lighting too. It's funny. It's something that, because for people who are visually impaired or sensitive, all the lighting is indirect.
Exactly.
Which is for if a person who's normally visual is lovely.
It is. It's beautiful, and it creates all this nice, beautiful ambient light around all the villages. And at night, it's just spectacular because you're not impeding what you can look up and see, like the amazing star, the constellations, everything that's up in the sky, but it also just gives nice little ambient light around the little villages, so you know where you are walking around and things like that. So it's gorgeous. What's
really remarkable, Heidi, is how you came to this, because you had come out of the corporate world, communications.
Yeah.
And then you had moved to, I guess it's Sebastopol?
So I'm from New Jersey, New York area originally, worked out there in corporate America for Simon & Schuster for banking background, the Provident Bank back east, always in marketing, sales, communications, and PR. And then I transferred over into real estate sector, and I got recruited out by a real estate company down in South Bay, the old Elan Pinnell, and they took me in as VP of Marketing, Communications, and PR. And I was there for about 3 years, and then got recruited up to Spokane, Washington, with another firm, and then came back down a year later and decided to get into the wine industry in Sonoma County, and got hired by Longboard Vineyards, Longboard Winery in Healdsburg.
Know them well.
Yep, they're awesome. They love his wines. Oded Shaked is the winemaker, and worked there for him for 5 years. But I had an event there. We did the Alexander Valley Film Festival at in the Barrel Room, and I met at the time a couple of people. They were showing a film, Possibilities, and it's a film about blind people and kind of the capabilities and possibilities. And that was one of the films that was selected for the film festival. I met a couple of people, didn't even really, it didn't compute in my brain what was going on. And at the end of the day, I got a call at the end of last year in 24 from Lighthouse for the blind and visually impaired. And they wanted to talk to me about coming up and kind of heading up retreat sales and being business development manager for Enchanted Hills.
And now we're sitting on this gorgeous place,
venue,
chatting about it.
Yep.
It was a bit of a convoluted pathway, but
I got here.
we got here. Well, thank you so much, Heidi.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for taking the time today. Thanks for showing me this incredible place. It was just wonderful.
Thank you.
So this is Wine Country at Work. I'm Ralph Demetrius. You come back and talk with us or listen to us next time about the wine industry, about wine hospitality, and about the wonderful people who work here.